Tage. Immer und immer wieder predige ich, der Wiederaufstieg.
One of the most enduring mysteries of the 20th century is what really happened to Adolf Hitler in the final days of World War II. Official history tells us that Hitler died by suicide in his Berlin bunker on April 30th, 1945. But the truth is much more complex and shrouded in conspiracy. For decades, countless theories have swirled around Hitler's death. Some claim he escaped to South America. Others say the Soviets assassinated him, and still more believe that he faked his own death to evade capture. Some theories even suggest that the body found in the bunker wasn't Hitler's at all, but a double or an imposter. The sheer volume of speculation is staggering, and it's clear the truth about Hitler's demise remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. But why, more than 75 years later, does Hitler's death continue to spark such debate? Could it be because the official story leaves too many questions unanswered? As we delve deeper into the last days of Adolf Hitler, we'll explore the holes in the official narrative and why so many still question the events of those fateful days. Let's start by questioning one of the key details in the official story: the lack of physical evidence. When Hitler allegedly took his own life in the Führerbunker, the bodies of both Hitler and his wife Eva Braun were supposedly burned beyond recognition. But here's where it gets murky. There were no photographs of the bodies, no immediate physical proof, and only the word of a handful of Nazi loyalists who were in the bunker. Can their accounts be trusted? Remember, these were people steeped in years of Nazi propaganda, deception, and loyalty to a man who built an entire regime on lies. Joseph Goebbels and Martin Bormann were the first to confirm Hitler's death. But given their fanatical loyalty and involvement in Nazi propaganda, can we really believe their testimonies? The Nazi regime was notorious for using doubles of Hitler as decoys to protect the Führer. So, was it really Hitler who died that day? Or could it have been one of these doubles, a calculated deception to throw off the Allies? The absence of physical proof left a void, one that conspiracy theories quickly filled. The Soviet forces, who were the first to reach Berlin, claimed to have found remains they believed were Hitler's. But here's the twist. Those remains were burned beyond recognition and quickly buried in a shallow grave out of sight. The Soviets, for reasons still unclear, kept these remains under strict secrecy for decades. Why? Was it because the remains weren't really Hitler's? The uncertainty surrounding this part of history only deepened when the Soviets refused to release concrete evidence. Was this intentional? To create confusion and maintain an air of control over the story? Or were they simply covering up something more sinister? In 1946, when the remains were unearthed by the Soviets, they conducted an autopsy. But instead of providing clarity, it only added fuel to the fire. According to their report, the bodies were badly charred, and the only piece of tangible evidence they found was a skull fragment with a bullet wound. But here's where it gets really interesting. In 2009, a team of scientists tested that same skull fragment, believed to be Hitler's, and guess what? The DNA analysis revealed that it didn't belong to a man at all. It was from a woman. Could this be the proof that the body found in the bunker wasn't Hitler's after all? The discovery sent shockwaves through the historical community and further entrenched the conspiracy theories that had already been circulating for decades. What if Hitler didn't die in that bunker? What if he had orchestrated his escape all along, staging his death to ensure his legacy lived on? Perhaps the most famous of these theories is the one suggesting that Hitler escaped to Argentina. After the war, numerous high-ranking Nazi officials, including the infamous Adolf Eichmann, fled to South America, with some help from sympathetic parties. Argentina in particular became a safe haven for former Nazis. Eyewitnesses have claimed to have seen Hitler in remote Argentine towns in the years following the war. Could it be that the Führer was living out the rest of his days in hiding, surrounded by Nazi loyalists? How could Hitler, the most wanted man in the world, have escaped the fall of Berlin? Some point to rumors of a secret airstrip that would have allowed Hitler to escape in the final hours before the Allies overran the city. Others believe that U-boats transported him across the Atlantic to South America. While these stories may sound far-fetched, the lack of concrete evidence makes them hard to dismiss outright. But it wasn't just Argentina where Hitler was supposedly spotted. Some claim he fled to Spain, aided by the country's pro-fascist government under General Franco. Others suggest he hid in Antarctica, with speculation of a secret Nazi base. As strange as these theories sound, they all stem from the same fundamental issue. The official story leaves too many questions unanswered. Even the eyewitness testimony from those inside the bunker raises more questions than answers. Take, for example, Otto Gunsch, Hitler's personal adjutant, who claimed to have seen Hitler's body being carried out and burned. His account, while detailed, has several inconsistencies. Why didn't other bunker witnesses corroborate his story in exact detail? And why were certain bunker personnel conveniently missing when the Soviets arrived? If Hitler's body wasn't conclusively identified, if eyewitnesses were unreliable, and if the physical remains don't add up, then what are we left with? A shifting narrative filled with doubt, rumors, and mystery. But perhaps that's exactly how the story was meant to unfold, keeping Hitler's demise forever in the shadows, leaving us to wonder what really happened. And consider this. Why would a man so obsessed with his legacy not stage one final illusion to ensure he slipped away into history on his own terms? If the Nazi regime was built on deception, manipulation, and propaganda, why should the final chapter of Hitler's life be any different? It's possible that in the closing days of World War II, Hitler had the resources and connections to orchestrate a grand escape, a calculated move to preserve his life and power beyond the fall of the Third Reich. While the world celebrated his demise, could he have been watching from afar, content in his ability to disappear without a trace? In the end, why do we still cling to these conspiracy theories? Perhaps it's because we, as a society, find it difficult to reconcile the idea that such a monstrous figure could die in such a simple and unceremonious way. The more ordinary the story, the less satisfying it becomes. We crave answers, and when the official version feels incomplete, our minds search for alternative explanations. Some mysteries, like Hitler's death, tap into our deeper need for closure, our desire to understand how someone responsible for so much destruction could simply vanish from the world stage. In the end, the mystery of Adolf Hitler's death may never be fully solved, but that's what keeps us intrigued. Whether he died in the bunker as the history books tell us, or escaped into the shadows, one thing is certain. The true story of Hitler's end remains a mystery that continues to haunt us. Was it all just a massive deception, or is the truth far more complex than we've been led to believe? As we reflect on the collapse of the Third Reich, we realize that history, like the minds that shape it, is full of unanswered questions. The more we uncover, the more we are left with doubt and the realization that even after all these years, the story of Adolf Hitler's death may never truly be put to rest. If you're as fascinated by these unsolved mysteries as we are, make sure to subscribe and leave your thoughts in the comments. What do you believe? Did Hitler truly die in the bunker, or did he escape into history's shadows?